Can seniors keep their home in bankruptcy? That's the question for today. Eric Olsen, licensed attorney for 48 years. Tell me, Eric, can seniors keep their home in bankruptcy?
If there was ever a risk of you losing your home in bankruptcy, so you would never even think about dreaming about filing bankruptcy. So the answer is you're not going to lose your home. If you're going to file bankruptcy and there was a risk of you losing your home, you don't need to file bankruptcy. So let me explain that so you understand. Okay, so virtually every state has what's called homestead exemption, which is the amount of equity that's protected under state law with equity in your home. What's equity? You owe something on your home, what it's worth, it's the difference. That's the equity. Some states it could be really small, like Virginia, $5,000. Or it could be like Texas and Florida, where it's unlimited. It doesn't matter what the home is worth. Okay, it's protected. Or California, it's like $700,000 plus, depending on the county, of equity in the home. So you could file bankruptcy and have that kind of equity in that kind of state, and it wouldn't be a problem. But if you lived in a state where there was a minimal amount of equity that's protected automatically, and you went to an attorney to file bankruptcy, that attorney would say, you can't file bankruptcy, they're going to take your home. And he might steer you towards what's called a Chapter 13, which is a bankruptcy where you make a payment over a period of 3 to 5 years to pay what a creditor would get in regular bankruptcy if the home were sold. Okay, less the cost of sale, et cetera. But the problem with that is that if you go into a Chapter 13, you're in bankruptcy for at least 3 years, 5 years making a payment. And it could be a large amount of money. I mean, if you have, 40 or 50,000 in equity in the home over and above the exemption for your state, that's going to be $1,000 Chapter 13 payment, $1,000 for 60 months. There's going to be trustees fees, attorney fees, and you just may not be able to do it. So, filing a Chapter 13 could really be a major mistake for a senior. Now, thankfully, if you file Chapter 13, you realize you make the mistake, you could get this case dismissed so you don't have to pay it anymore. But let's say you don't pay, a senior doesn't pay it, and they got this equity and they get sued by a creditor, is their home at risk being taken? In 48 years of practice, 30 to 40,000 bankruptcies. Running helps for the last 12 years. I cannot recall a time where I've seen a creditor like a credit card company who got a judgment, and if the person had equity in the home over and above the homestead exemption, ever try to take a person's home. They simply don't do it. Now, I guess you could envision a scenario where it could happen, but as a practical matter, it's not going to happen. Maybe you own the home with your spouse, and the judgment is just against one of you. Or maybe someone else is titled up. It's just a lot of reasons why you're not going to lose your home. If there was a risk of losing your home in bankruptcy, you never file regular bankruptcy. And shame on any attorney who do that for you.
Yeah.
Let
me unpack this. So depending on the homestead exemption of the state, the attorney would unpack this accordingly if they need a 7 or a 13. However, what you're saying, and we're talking specifically to seniors losing their home, right? You're coming to an attorney as a senior with protected income, protected retirement, et cetera, which the bankruptcy code cannot take, debt collectors cannot access. So one way or the other, through the advisement of a bankruptcy attorney, you're going to determine how to keep your home. And like you said, in 48 years, even if they didn't file bankruptcy, you've never seen a credit card company that has a lien force a sale of a home. So the answer is basically, practically, they're going to keep their home, whether it's a bankruptcy or not.
That's right. Now, there could be a judgment against them, which could be a lien on the home, which means they may have to deal with that when they go to sell the home.
Yeah, when they sell the home or when they
at their death. But, there's just a lot of little factors that make it so it won't be an issue for people.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate your time.
You bet.
If you need assistance, contact Eric at 855-435-7787, or to be connected to a bankruptcy attorney in your state, use the resources link in the description of this video.